And we are back with the third segment of the GSMC Basketball Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. And in this third segment, we are going to be talking about whether or not Caitlin Clark gets targeted. Does she get targeted? Does she not get targeted? Is this just what you expect from a rookie? Is she making excuses? What are the odds? What is happening with my screen? Why has it not switched? That is the ultimate question. And now it has switched. Okay, fantastic. So, yes, is Caitlin Clark getting targeted? That is the ultimate question. That is what we are trying to solve here. Now, as you can see by this image, it seems that whoever this mean lady on the left is, it seems like she is reaching a little bit too much on Caitlin Clark. It seems like Caitlin is not very appreciative of that whatsoever. She does not seem she does not seem to like how close her arm is and how she's been playing the defense. Now, as it turns out, her name is Kennedy Carter. Again, forgive me if I mess up that name, but that is how it seems like that's how you pronounce it. So she plays for the Chicago Sky. She is Angel Reese's teammate, and she is trying her best to defend Caitlin Clark in this game. She somewhat does a pretty good job up until she decides to elbow Caitlin Clark directly in the face. Now, I say elbow because that's sort of what it seems like she's doing. It doesn't really seem like it's a basketball move, like whatsoever, which is usually what you're supposed to do when you're playing basketball, but she didn't really seem to do that for some reason. Now, Caitlin Clark only had 11 points in this game on 11 shots. However, despite this, the Indiana Fever were able to come out with the win. Surprisingly, now I'm very surprised that they were able to come out with the win despite Caitlin Clark only having 11 points. I mean, like, only having 11 points is a really it's kind of crazy, don't you think? Because Caitlin Clark is supposed to be this, great scorer, and the big reason why the team decided to draft her was due to her scoring, at least, according to Kennedy Carter, who, for some reason, she was being very mean to Kennedy over in the post-game conference. I don't understand why. The first thing that she said in the post-game conference was no Caitlin Clark questions. Now, for somebody who was blatantly pushing Caitlin and blatantly after her head and off to the races with it, saying that she wasn't going to answer any questions about her seems kind of cowardly to me. I don't know about you, but I feel like that's a little bit cowardly, but that's just me. Now, they call it a bump, but in reality, it seemed a little bit more like a shove. It wasn't just a bump because, Caitlin Clark later, she was on the ground. And, I mean, saying that you weren't going to answer any Caitlin Clark questions after shoving her to the ground, I feel like it is incredibly weak. Now, what's even weaker is, the fact that her teammates don't really seem to do anything to help her in the slightest. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but Caitlin Clark is basically the biggest reason as to why the WNBA is getting a lot more funding and is getting, has the ability to send women to these games on actual flights now. This woman has basically changed the entire league for you, and here you are not even helping her out when she is on your team, getting shoved around like a rag doll. That does not really make any sense to me. Now, just looking at the rest of this article, yeah, that's according to what Clark had to say, she said that's just not a basketball play, but I've got to play through it. That's what basketball is about at this level. I that's a very mature answer, but I don't really agree with her statement saying that is just basketball at this level. No, that is not that is not just basketball. Like you said, it wasn't a basketball move and it wasn't a basketball play, and therefore should not be regarded as such because it just wasn't a basketball move. So since it wasn't a basketball move, you should not really be giving it any kind of credit, since that play should not have even like, I mean, that shove shouldn't have even taken place. Like, I mean, at least from where I'm standing now. Fever, a lot of, for some reason, like, none of the players on the Fever have been, helping her out. Usually when you, at least when you're looking at it from the men's side, whenever you see somebody on the in at least on an NBA team, whenever somebody gets targeted, then you see the rest of the team sort of like swoop in and sort of either defend the person that got shoved or try to get in the other person's face and sort of intimidate him in any kind of way. That's usually what they do to some of those people, but for some reason they just did not. None of the teammates on Caitlin's side end up doing so, and I don't know why. And so there another quote here is, "We're just going to keep sending these possessions to the league and these plays, and hopefully they'll start, taking a better look at some of the things that we see happening or we think is happening." And it seems like that's sort of like the response from the Fever's perspective. Now, just more happy that Caitlin handled it the way she did. It's tough to keep getting hammered the way she does and to not get rewarded with free throws or foul calls. She continued to fight through that. Appreciate that from her. Really, really proud of her for doing that. The is what Sides posted on X, and that's what the person says. So now, I mean, she didn't play well, but at the end of the day she ended up winning, which is, I mean, it definitely warrants an apology if you are this woman right here, because I don't understand why a lot of them trash talk. And then what's funny is that became her second win in the entirety of the WNBA season. Like, she didn't win a single game up until this, she didn't win a second game up until this point in her WNBA career, which is, it's kind of, I mean, it's kind of disappointing on the both Caitlin's end and on her end, because it's like, how are you losing to a team that has only been able to win one other time, and on Caitlin's side, how are you only winning one other time? Like, it's bad from both perspectives, but in reality, it's more bad on Caitlin's perspective, in my opinion, because it's like, why on earth is she not winning more basketball? Like, that is just, it's insane to me. But aside from that, I personally think that she's getting targeted. Like, there's really no other way around it other than the fact that she's getting targeted, because it's like, it's I mean, it's blatant. It's blatant every single time when they play, that every single team is sort of like trying to stop her and only her, because like she's basically the only driving force on the Fever. And it's really like, it's apparent that in order to stop the Fever, you have to stop Caitlin. But it becomes this hit that the WNBA players seemed to force on Caitlin. It seemed almost unnecessary, in my opinion, because it's like, why are you trying to hurt her like that? That does not make any sense to me. Like, I don't think anyone should agree with this kind of play. It's not a basketball play, and it has no place in the game whatsoever. And I just don't think that I don't think that this woman and this team, if they're going to act like this, I feel like they should be punished. Like, if they shouldn't go away unscathed by this little incident. So with that, we are out of time for this third segment. So now I will go ahead and go into the fourth segment and talk about Giannis playing for a Greek Olympic qualifier. In the 2024 Olympic qualifier rounds. And these games are going to be happening from July 2nd to July 7th. So I will be right back after this short break, so stay tuned.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.